What is up, Josh Pate? How are you today?
I compliment time. So you guys know there are a lot of shows out there that are just sports.
Yeah.
And then there are more mature shows that have some depth and layers like you guys. So if I'm going to come on the show, I always turn it on like 30 minutes ahead of time. Let's just get a flavor. Let's try and get a little cheat sheet of what we're going to talk about. So I've got my show notes like written on my hands. I've got some shark stuff over here. I've got done away political musings here. And then up here near the wrist, I've got WNBA trivia. And so I'm ready to go. I got ink all over me, but I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
You got a damn fine T-shirt on, too.
That's right. It's good looking T-shirt.
I did not plan this. I did not realize I'm wearing this till right now. But yes, look at how good the pectoral definition is because of how soft this fabric is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a way to sell it there, Pate. We like it.
Yeah, you can jump in right now, and Ryan Brown may deliver to your home his bracket punishment for finishing second. If you go to the store right now, Ryan Brown 30, get 30% off what you purchase. You can get that wonderful flag T-shirt, one of our original T-shirts with that soft fabric right now, nextround.store.
That's right. Real quick, two things before we get to football. It has been an active storm season. You've been out storm chasing. Have you seen anything uncommon? Is there something like you've seen storm chasing that you haven't normally seen?
Lightning striking concrete. We had an instance of that. That happened at Hobby Airport the other day, too, by the way. They had to shut down ground traffic for a little while. We have been in 2 nocturnal tornadoes, high precipitation tornadoes. That is not fun at all. So I have no great pictures for you, just near-death experiences. So garden variety spring so far.
Okay, so on that note, random question, but we were at the beach, I think 2 or 3 years ago, down on the 30A Strip, and a tornado touched right by us in Alice Beach. So I was down last weekend in Orange Beach, and there were reports a tornado came through at like 3:30 in the morning. I mean, it was one of those small like hit and goes, but then Brown said his parents were down on Monday. Same thing happened in Destin. My question to you, I remember going to the beach 1,000 times as a kid, never any tornadic weather down there. I'm not calling global warming or anything, but why are there more storms like that? I understand the hurricanes, but what about tornadoes on the coast?
I'm glad you asked me this because often this gets attributed to climatological changing, and really all it is more technology. So you're aware of more of them, and a lot of it's anecdotal as well. You could go to the beach 1,000 times, not see one, and then see one 2 times in a row. First one I ever saw was a water spout that became, an actual tornado. I'm at the airport the other day, though, just to give you an idea of the flavoring I get on this. There's a big tornado that came through just south of Spring Hill here in Nashville. Of course, it's a time I'm at the airport. So I'm following it, trying to get management out of the way because they live down there so I can still have a job. And this lady comes and sits down next to me, peeks over, sees I'm looking at the radar, and then starts to inform me about some information her husband stumbled upon about governmental control of the weather. And I had to sit there and take that because I was delayed for an hour because there was a ground stoppage at BNA. So we're all dealing with it as best we can.
Boy, you're too nice. That's when you could have shut her down, said something crazy ass, or you could have put her in her place and said, "Look, I've been studying this thing forever. Here's the way it is."
I usually
I just pulled the lady. You have no idea, and then I kept on looking at my radar.
I fire back usually. I said it's actually the chip they've been planted right behind your spine in the back of your head that is making you think that right now. Really, we're not controlling that. Yeah, I got to ask you, water spout, tornado, what's the difference? Because I remember in my 20s sitting on the back stairs of the Pink Pony Pub in Gulf Shores, all of us just watching this water spout a few hundred yards off and just sitting there watching it happen while I was drinking my cold Bud Light and talking to a young lady as we just sit there. Is that not a tornado?
Yeah, well, it's a tornado when it comes on land. Forget about that. Whatever became of the young lady?
She got swept away.
Much like that water spout, I shrunk back up into the sky. Did not happen. Okay. Nothing happened. But it's just a tornado on the water. It's all a water spout.
That's it. And it comes on land, and it's a tornado, and it counts. And your official count, once it comes on land, you have seen one. So make sure you.
Okay, so what an idiot! Me sitting here watching a tornado on water.
I won't hurt you.
It was very dangerous. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Are we obliged to ask you a college football question now?
If we have time, yeah.
Well, so we're doing our 40 and 40 right now, and there's a lot of what I would call trendy picks that are going to be in the top 10. From Ole Miss to Missouri. Oregon is one of those. Is there a team that is going to be a massive disappointment that will be a preseason top 10 team? Because, Brown, I don't know if you know the statistic. What is it? Every year we have a top 10 that ends up not in the top 25 to end the season.
Top 10 finishes unranked. We do it every year, Pate, and every year when the AP comes out, we're like, I can't find one this year. And almost every year it's 2 or 3 that are in the top 10 that finish unranked.
I guess the highest risk team would be LSU. Would LSU be a top 10 team to you right now?
For me, right there.
Yeah, it's borderline. But
For me, it was,
All right. So if we're talking about high-risk properties there's certainly a way that LSU ends up being a top 10 wire-to-wire team, but they're not like a high-reward, low-risk proposition. They're high on both ends. I think a lot of attention needs to be paid to the running threat that Jaden Daniels was. Like everyone looks at him holistically. Oh, he's a first-round draft pick. Oh, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Yes, he was. Okay, well, but we've got Garrett Nussmeier now. Yes, you do. Well, Garrett could be a really good passer. Yes, he could. That's not how football happens. You're looking to replace production. And Jaden Daniels was one of the most productive runners, quarterback or otherwise, not only in the league last year, in the league the last several years, last couple of decades. Like, he had better yards per carry average than Cam Newton did in his Heisman year at Auburn. So even if Garrett Nussmeier is everything that I think he could be, man, they believe in their running game down there, but they better be right about it, is the first point. The second point is they lost some pieces from an historically terrible defense. I don't know that they've just blindly replenished the coffers. I love the coaching hires they made. I think they did as good a job hiring defensively as any team in America. Do they have the players there? Because if they don't, guys, their over-under win total is 9.5. That's the same as Ole Miss and Alabama. So, like, they're expected to do what those teams are. Tennessee as well is 9.5 win total. So, I guess I'd circle LSU as maybe the highest risk team in that group.
I love your on-campus tours as they continue throughout the summer. You were with Sark. We played a little snippet from your show on the air when you were laughing about Arch Manning sticking it out with Texas as he goes into year 2, and that was a really good moment. Can you make a case, and I know we've done this throughout history, but Texas is at the start of what Georgia was in 2017, that Texas could be the next great dynasty about to take off?
Yes, I could. My only question, and it's a total shot in the dark here, so there's no information either way. My only question would be, are the internal dynamics built to sustain long-term? Bama had it under Saban. Kirby has it at Georgia. It is such a rare commodity to have that. I mean, I'm talking about a handful of times in history have you had the perfect storm. Basically, like if we're talking weather, the parameters that have to be in place for a Category 5 hurricane to even form over water, much less make landfall, have to be so perfect. Have James Spann on to talk about this every now and then. They have to be so perfect that even if it happens, it rarely lasts for long. Well, Bama was a Category 5 hurricane for a decade and a half, and Georgia has been one for a while. That doesn't mean you win the title every year, but you're well within reach every year. You give yourself a shot every year. So Texas has entered a window right now. They were in it last year. They'll be in it this year, where they're going to at least give themselves a shot every year. What happens is, I've always called it the consequences of success. You don't find out how good these organizations are by can they get to the mountaintop. Once you get close to it and then you start dealing with the consequences of success, which few ever deal with, then do you sustain it with all the crap that falls in your lap after you start winning? That, to me, is kind of unknowable, and it's especially unknowable if you're a guy who hasn't done it before. We had seen Saban win before. If Kirby left for 5 years and came back, we wouldn't have much doubt that he knows how to build it. Urban Meyer built it twice and then was the victim of the consequences of success both times. He never sustained it. So that would be my question. Knowing how hard it is to flick a quarter on the table and make it spin for 2 minutes, that's how hard it is to sustain that level of excellence. So I don't know. They'll have the ability. They got all the resources that need to be afforded you, but I don't know.
Josh Pate is with us, CBS Sports. Late Kick Josh is where you follow him on Twitter and his YouTube page and all those things. Go support his show, Late Kick Josh. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline 100 days out from the start of college football. We found out game day's first stop yesterday. We found out the first primetime ABC game. It is Notre Dame at Texas A&M. If the Fighting Irish survive that, and that's going to be a tough trip for them, if they survive that game, boy, you look at that schedule, and it is hard to comprehend, Pate. Oh, you're rubbing your hands. It's hard to comprehend them not being in the college football playoff if they survive that one.
Yeah, I'd say even if it's a close loss, they got a good shot.
Yeah.
If they win it, then everybody's attention, whether it should or not, probably shifts to that Florida State game where they bring the Seminoles into South Bend. And as it stands now, and I could be wrong on this, I think that's the only surefire point spread underdog spot that Florida State may have this entire year as we sit here in the middle of spring. So that will be a really, really good precursor to what I think the next level of conversation is going to be in this sport. And that is, when you talk about being a playoff contender, it used to mean a lot because we only have 4 teams. But now if we've got 12 teams, you're going to have 1 or 2 programs out there that become like the Braves were talked about in the 90s. Yeah, you guys can win the division. Like, yeah, you guys get in the playoffs, but you can't win it all. And so there's this different classification of team where the ceiling is merely playoff. And we already kind of talked about Notre Dame that way in the previous iteration. But now surely there will be a second level of vitriol out there and a second level of insult in this sport where you only are capable of making the playoffs. So if they make it this year, great. If that just means they go 11-1 and then they get knocked out in the first round or second round, no one will change their tune about Notre Dame.
For Ole Miss fans, if they don't get to a college football playoff this year, it's going to be a massive disappointment. It is college football playoff or bust. Everybody believes that Lane Kiffin's going to be there, but the fact of the matter, Pate, and you know this, is going into that bowl game against Penn State last year, Lane Kiffin was 1-11 against top 10 teams. And in order, and look at I look at the schedule, they're going to be favored in at least 10 games. That LSU game in Baton Rouge will be around the pick. There'll be a dog at home to Georgia. But outside of that, I mean, this schedule is wide open. But should we believe in Lane Kiffin? I know he's got the roster now, but do you think it translates to a college football playoff appearance?
If it doesn't, it's a failure of a season. And when we're talking about a 12-team field instead of 4, I feel comfortable saying that, especially when we're talking about a program that's just pushed all its chips to the middle of the table. Look, I don't think we have Kiffin scheduled for the show today, but if we had him on and then we inject truth serum into his neck, how does he disagree with that?
Yeah,
I know everybody's on the record goal every year is make the playoff, win a championship. But I mean, if we're being real now, there have been years at Ole Miss where you're trying to win 8 games, you're in a rebuilding phase. This is not one of those years. It is very much a window style program, in that I believe they're the kind of program that needs to build towards this kind of year. But this is the year that you build towards. If they're not in that thing, and guys, I would even argue this, with the nature of a 12-team field, if they just get in the thing and don't do anything in the playoff, I think those folks would consider it a failure of a season. Because all they would have done, let's say, is finish 9th or 10th in the country and don't do anything in the postseason. Well, that's the equivalent of what they've done a few times before. They've finished that highly ranked before. The postseason structure was such that they weren't allowed in. But what would be the difference if they go in the first round and get beat by like Oklahoma or someone like that? I don't know. So I think not only do they have to make it, they've got to at least win a game in the playoff, or else I think those folks look and say, really? Like all that just for this? That's the expectation level we rarely are used to talking about with them.
I know you hate losing conferences like the Pac-12. Different bubbling conversations coming out of ACC meetings from North Carolina trustees now. Do we make it? Do we make it to the start of football season in 100 days without any kind of announcement that somebody's leaving the ACC, in your opinion?
The best guidance I've been getting on this is no, and that's been pretty consistent ever since late last year. There's been pretty guided thought that we hear something or we have something tangible to go on by the start of this upcoming season. Now, you guys know all that's written in pencil. It could very easily change, but even if now I still had to guess, it's blind, but I would guess we know something fairly definitive, more definitive than we have now, about what North Carolina is going to do. I was listening to you guys talk about that, about how the public would view the availability of an FSU, Clemson versus a North Carolina versus how conferences view them. I think you're spot on, but I also think that we're in a world where there's going to be shelf space for several of those properties. I'd include Miami in that as well. I think there'll be shelf space in some form, and maybe not just in the big two for those. I'll tell you selfishly what I'd love to see. I'd love to see somehow, some way, the Big 12 able to make a move here and snatch several valuable properties that kind of up their status in the overall hierarchy of college athletics to where we don't just have a Big Two. I would love, if we're going to have this relegated model, I would love at least to have 3 power conferences. I know that's not very feasible, but I still hold out hope somehow, some way.
All right, Josh Pate, we started talking tornadoes and waterspouts. We will finish with this. Waffle House took a very bold stand. I have one Dunaway over to this. They took a bold stand yesterday. TPG on Twitter wanted to make sure this came up in our conversation. I have said all along, limp bacon is the best bacon. You say you now fear for Waffle House's future after they have made this stance on social media.
Well, I fear for you as an American red-blooded male to be confidently saying on live air, limp bacon is the best bacon.
Best way to do it.
No, there should be connotations here. Make no mistake, this is not just about breakfast. There should be connotations to a grown man saying this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't back me up, this is not a matter of opinion. Some things are. I don't think this is a matter of opinion. I think Ryan Brown has looked at the sky and is saying it's purple. And then is the guy, I got someone in my social circle who's a flat earther, for example.
Right. Yeah.
And they go Kyrie Irving on me every now and then. And then when I argue with them, they go back with everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's not opinion, though. Just like the limp bacon thing, it's not opinion, it's fact. Crisp as can be.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. And Dunaway used to be on the right side.
Did. I want him over.
No. Brown likes it practically raw.
Yeah.
I like it chewy now. Chewy. I'm a moderate with my bacon too, just like I am my politics.
That's right. Jim's in the middle of everything.
Give me chewy. I don't like it where it crumbles anymore.
I want to be able to take that piece of bacon, and if I needed to, I want to be able to write a message on the side of a cave. Like I want it to be that crispy.
Oh, I like it to shatter like glass. It is so crispy. And I don't know if you do this. I love to dip it in the syrup.
It's beautiful. How do people not get this? It's beautiful.
Yeah. There's a Chinese takeout place near me that does a tremendous burger, and I get a burger. Yeah, no, I
don't even know who you are anymore. I'm going to be really honest.
How do you even find
that?
You just said a Chinese takeout place that does a tremendous
absolutely
burger.
And I got the bacon cheeseburger from there last night, and the bacon was, because I remembered after I saw it, what made me want it was I saw Pate saying Waffle House may not make it because they believe in limp bacon. And I remembered, you know what? The bacon on their Chinese takeout burger is limp. So I ordered that burger last night.
What's crazy is
I gotta walk out on that. I'll see you guys later.
See you, Pate. Thank you. Josh Pate, CBS Sports on the Johnston RV Center.
I am really floored right now. What were you going to say, Roger?
I was going to say if they had cheese and bacon, but can you tell me right now one Asian cuisine that has cheese on it? Any type of cheese?
None.
So why do they have cheese there?
Well, for this burger.
And
they do a
bacon.
great cheeseburger.
You think it's blue cheese, but it's just old craft American that is molded up.
I'm as stunned as anybody, but there's a Chinese, it's where we get all our Chinese takeout. And some time ago, somebody said, have you ever tried the burger there? I'm like, no. He said, I know this sounds insane. They've got a tremendous burger. I'd never even seen it on the menu. I look on the menu. They've got a section for what they call American food. Chicken fingers, chicken sandwich, burger, and all that. So I was like,
kids menu. That's what
no, it's not the kids menu. It's the actual American food. So I tried it, and it was a fantastic burger.
I'm going to assume with Rocky, it was a family going in there. This is the only way this could go down. And the kids did not want to eat Chinese. Kid wanted a burger. Yep. And you know how we polish off our kids' sandwiches and burgers and all that stuff?
Yep.
And somebody took a bite, and they're like, damn, this is a good burger.
It was an excellent burger.
There's nobody that's going to roll in there and order a burger.
I did. Well, I got a takeout. I never eat in there. I get takeout every time.
Do they have a kid, like a young kid just studying in there?
It's a husband and wife, and they always
always a kid just sitting on an iPad.
No, you're right about that. But it's a husband and wife, and they always seem super pissed off at each other. Like they're arguing all the time in a language I can't understand, but it sounds very angry.
Then they got to go home with each other. How was your day? You were there.
Yeah. Brad, I'm really starting to question your food taste.
It's a phenomenal burger. It's really good.